Hi everyone, welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Have you ever wanted to go back in time at Christmas to relive another generation's Christmas? Well, now you can. Booking.com this year are offering a 1980s Christmas in London. And it's advertised here in one of our local newspapers. It says, this December, Londoners can experience Christmas like it once was with a special 1980s themed experience. Home of Christmas Past allows lucky guests the chance to relive the nostalgic time with a home completely decked out in over-the-top 80s decorations. Now, I have to say that I was a teenager in the 1980s, and at the beginning of the 80s, Christmas really was not fun. But by the end of the 80s, I was an adult, so it seemed to become more bearable and enjoyable. But then again, I'm wondering, why is it that people here are hankering for some kind of past experience of joy? Is it because we don't find it today? Hankering just means searching for, yearning for, looking for. Yeah, what is it about the past that we sometimes hanker for? And there's a picture here of an 80s Christmas. Well, I must say, I don't really remember an 80s Christmas looking exactly like this. I mean, there is the TV without the remote control. There's a video recorder with large VHS videos. A stereo with LPs, brightly colored curtains, but there's nothing here that really would make me want to rush back. There's a rather sinister looking Santa Claus. I mean, it seems that in the 80s, he wasn't quite as well groomed as he is today. His costume was a little bit more rugged. Whereas today, of course, Santa Claus supposedly looks perfect. It's really interesting. I mean, the one thing I'm noticing about this room that they're showing me, which is from the 80s, is that it's full of things, whereas now we are more minimalist because everything's online. We don't need so many books because we can read them online, for example. It says here, from an 80s Christmas tree, coloured lights, shimmery tinsel, and even a child's bedroom decked with vintage toys and classic posters, you get to enjoy all things 80s. It doesn't stop with decorations. As guests arrive, they'll be able to enjoy 80s music hits and an 80s Christmas buffet with Advocat. Oh, that's that alcoholic drink with eggs, isn't it? They make it with eggs, whiskey. I don't know what else is in it. It says Viennetta. Oh, delicious. That's that ice cream dessert thing, isn't it? And vol au vents. That's those French small cake things. And it says here, forget streaming services or DVDs. At Home of Christmas Past, you get a stack of VHS videotapes with family favorites to enjoy, including Die Hard, The Snowman, and Gremlins. Oh, delicious. They have the food table here. There's a prawn cocktail. There's sausage rolls, vol au vents. Oh, there's the Viennetta. Oh, I haven't seen that for years. I didn't think you could still buy that, Viennetta. Yeah, oh gee. That takes me back in time. Along with all the food decorations and movies to watch, guests will even get their own 80s themed gift to take home. And there's a picture here of a TV. Do you remember the TV when it wasn't working? It used to have the snow effect. That's what we used to call it. If the TV was not tuned in properly, it had a kind of a black and white screen with lots of little dots. A snowy screen, we used to call it. You don't see those anymore. Either the monitor works or it doesn't. You don't get snowy screens on TV anymore. You'll get the chance to tour London's Christmas lights, ice skating, afternoon tea on the Thames, and champagne at the top of the Shard. If you want to spend Christmas in the 80s, you can book the Home of Christmas Past on one of the websites. Up to 4 guests will be able to check in for 2 nights. Yeah, but that sounds like it won't have Wi-Fi. Oh no, I wouldn't like to live somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi. Yeah, looking at the decorations here, the curtains in particular are very brightly coloured. They have a unit under the TV, one of these wooden units that you can store things in. There's ashtrays everywhere. And yeah, the Christmas decorations are very different. They seem to be much more basic. Oh, very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. It says here, discussing the special 80s experience, one of the managers of the organizers said, nostalgia is a big trend, not only in entertainment, fashion, and home decor, but also in travel. That means revisiting places from childhood holidays, traveling to reunite with family and friends to reminisce. But for 1 in 10, travel is also about the chance to feel like a kid again. And what better time to do that at Christmas and in this, the ultimate 80s festival home. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I do hanker for the 80s. Those of you who listen to this podcast regularly, especially my older ones from earlier this year, you know I love the 1980s, but I don't think it's because I want to be a child again. It's just life was so much simpler. The messages you got from people, the things around us, there was some kind of feeling of purpose. Whereas now, if I turn on the TV, I'm going to be hit with local news from a country that has no relevance to me. There's no sense of locality anymore. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's what I like about it. It's not that the 80s were something special. In fact, they had living through the 80s wasn't the best. Without the internet, you were required to either have a really sharp mind, to be able to do things on demand for people, recall information instantly, like phone numbers, or have some special quirk. A quirk is when you're able to do something that makes you different from other people. So, for example, if you could speak 2 languages in the 80s, you would have been considered a very valuable asset because you could have, especially in broadcasting and acting, you needed an extra thing, something that you could do in order to survive. If you had an extra skill, something you could do, or if you had lived somewhere else, you were considered open-minded and knowledgeable, and that's something that, especially here in the UK, was valuable. It could be used in order to create a particular experience. So, yeah, without that, I think you wouldn't have gotten very far in the 80s unless you had some particular skill. It wasn't a fun time. Christmas being with the family for around a week, that's what it was in those days, seemed largely okay because it's what you did. Whereas now, of course, being with family for any more than 5 minutes immediately causes us pain, distress, and despair. So very interesting. I wonder what it was like for you in the 80s. Were you even born in the 80s? I wonder. Yeah, I can remember Christmas dinner. It was always something very, very special. There was always a big bird, like a turkey or chicken on the table. My parents never really liked turkey, so it was always chicken, as far as I can remember. There was always loads and loads of food to go around. And most years, I think, as I recall, we went to my grandparents' house and they invited all of my cousins, all of their children, my aunts and uncles. So there was, I think, they had three children. So there was three people with their husbands and their children. So that meant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then my parents 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, so in total there would be 16 of us. And it's strange, isn't it? Because in looking back, there was no problem. We all were fine in this small house with 16 people. It was just a lovely thing. But even for them, there was some great sense of sadness. Like I remember we'd all sit round the table. Of course, my parents' generation, they all had their own issues with each other. So there was a lot of emotion. And then after a few drinks, they would begin to fight. But what I do remember about it, though, is it was something beautiful, but my grandparents seemed to be a little bit sad. I don't know what it was, but I think they were looking back at their own lives in the same way as we look back at ours now. There was some hint or tinge of sadness there. There was always a tear, of crying, but the food was delicious. And there was always too much of it. Whereas now, when you think of family get-togethers, there's maybe 3, 4, a maximum of 5 people here in the UK. Many of us choose not to be around their families. I called a friend of mine in England yesterday. She's in London. I said, "What you doing for Christmas?" She said, "Oh, same as always." She said, "I'll need to take my father to my brother's house, and I really, really don't want to go." I said, "Well, if you don't want to go, can you not just drop him off and tell them that you're feeling sick?" She said, No, I can't do that. I'm really obliged to go. It is my brother after all." And I said to her, "Well, it's really nice you're making the effort. I wouldn't." And she said, "Well, I guess it's only once in the year." She said, "But it'll be awful because they don't make enough food. They're kind of miserable. My brother's wife isn't the most friendly. She isn't the friendliest. And my father, he'll want to get drunk, and then I'll bring him home." And I said, "Well, how long will you be there?" She said, "Well, we'll probably arrive around 12, and we'll come back around 9. And I thought, oh no, no, that sounds really, really stressful. I'm not sure I could do that. Family for 9 hours. Oh no, no. These days, I think a couple of hours with family would be enough. But anyway, I don't have a family anymore, so there isn't anyone that I'll be seeing. There's myself, my immediate family, of course, but I don't have kids. And then we also have the little cats. So yeah, it'll be nice. There'll be the three of us, and we'll watch some nice TV. I have some TV picked out. We're going to be watching Alien on Christmas Day. Always a nice movie for Christmas. And also Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's our Christmas viewing. I did have a look to see what's on TV this year, but I have to say I'm not impressed. No, so another thing I have on DVD is the Are You Being Served Christmas specials. You can probably find those on YouTube. It's an old TV show from the 70s and 80s. So I've already started watching that. It's very, very funny in a strange, nonsensical kind of a way. So I'll be watching that. I bought loads of biscuits and chocolates for anyone that does drop in over the Christmas period. Sometimes a friend might drop in. I don't think I'll be seeing anyone, but there's lots of sweets here and lots of food in case anyone does join us. Historically, I've always found Christmas to be a very stressful time, purely because it's a time when you're told you will be happy, you will enjoy, you will be with family. And once your parents go, I think that's it, it's game over. And even if you are married, your wife or husband, yeah, great for them to be around, but it's not the same. It's more a kind of artificial, isn't it? I think all my in-laws are in Venezuela and Spain, so I won't be seeing them at Christmas time. But I'll be on Skype and on the phone. But now, these days in the UK, Christmas is one day, only one day. So Christmas Day, everything's closed. Boxing Day, supermarkets, coffee shops, and gyms are all reopened. I used to, really say, oh, I really wish Christmas would end with one day because it's really a horrible, horrible experience for people who are accustomed to being out and walking. But now that everything is open after one day, I'm kind of thinking, you know what? I really wish Christmas went on longer than just one day. So, yeah, with that in mind, I'm not as stressed about Christmas as I used to be. I used to think of it as a really horrible, horrible time. But I think now, since I've realized, I think that I'm choosing to have quiet Christmas times. I'll be busy cooking, watching TV, enjoying some lovely non-alcoholic drinks over the Christmas period. Yeah, so I won't be working on that week. So I'll be here making podcasts and YouTube clips for all of you. You're all my family, so I'll be sharing whatever I'm doing with you. And you can see me, but it's not a happy time. I don't think anyone sees it that way because we're all yearning and looking back to the 80s. But anyway, that's it from me right now. I'll keep you up to date with Christmas this week. Hopefully, I'll be bringing you some news reports from the 80s as they were, although I'm having trouble finding some of them. All right, that's it from me. Bye.